The Washington Commanders could boost their offense with a playmaking wide receiver. Who's going to be available at 29? We've got your answer right here. Let's go. Greetings and salutations and welcome to Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. And we are here with our top 5 wide receivers that we would take at pick 29, or maybe a little bit later. We'll get into that in a little bit. We are breaking down a lot of these draft positions as we get closer to the NFL draft. Of course, we'll be streaming live for the NFL draft, so you want to catch this out here on YouTube and Facebook. Of course, we're also streaming live every Wednesday, and join the conversation there as we talk about this and more Commanders content every Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern, live here on YouTube and Facebook. Now, Stoner.
Yes, sir.
Adam Peters kind of already addressed a wide receiver position this offseason.
Yeah.
Traded to get Deebo Samuel, got him on the cheap, do his contract as well, making it a little bit team friendly. Why would they spend more draft capital on a wide receiver? You're a needs guy.
Yeah.
And this doesn't feel like maybe it's a need.
This is a perplexing position group for me, Nathan. I've really thought long and hard about this one, more than any other position group, really, because you can't go wrong really any other position other than quarterback at 29. But wide receiver has kind of got my brain exploding for a couple of different reasons. As you mentioned, when you've got Deebo Samuel in the offseason for cheap, that kind of takes care of one of your biggest issues from this offseason. The Commanders took care of the offense. This was the 5th ranked offense, Nathan, in the entire NFL in points per game. Did they really need a lot of help? No, but it never hurts, obviously, to give your young quarterback as much help as he can by getting another wide receiver in Deebo Samuel and a left tackle. But did they do enough defensively for an 18th ranked defense? By the way, the lowest ranked defense to make the playoffs, right? And did they do enough there? So that's why it's got me perplexed about whether or not they should take a wide receiver at pick 29, or even with their 2nd round pick, or maybe their 4th round pick, or maybe their second round pick if they trade back, whatever it is. It's really got me confused. So it's going to be fun to explore these wide receivers, but I'm just not sure. I'm still not sure. And maybe as we talk it through and we get comments from everybody on all these different platforms you talked about, maybe I can be convinced either way, because I'm not convinced right now that taking a wide receiver at 29 is the best move.
Yeah, 29 or the first pick. It's interesting to me personally because, one, I'm always the best player available. So if the best player available is the wide receiver and that pick, you need to take him, right? But one of the things when it comes to this offense, like you mentioned, top 5 offense in the NFL, and you have offense in a can. Jayden Daniels doesn't need a star-studded wide receiver room. He needs a good offensive line and needs a defense that's going to keep the ball in his hands. Those are the things that he needs to be successful in the NFL. So that's where I struggle with the wide receiver picks. And we did this again. You gave me kind of a slew of names, and I get to rack and stack them. There's going to be some few noticeable misses. There's one in particular going to be gone in the top 3 picks. So no need to talk about him in particular. You know exactly who I'm talking about as far as that. Travis
I love me some. Yeah, Travis Hunter is the number 1 wide receiver in this draft. He's the number 1 cornerback in this draft. And if you draft that guy, you're getting both. I don't know how much he's going to play each way, but yeah, he's not going to be there. But man, he is a guy that any team should be drafting top 5, top 3, whatever it may. If you don't need a corner, a quarterback, that should be the first guy off the board. Maybe him and Abdul Carter fight for that.
Abdul Carter. Oh,
yeah,
man.
I love both of them.
Do not need Abdul Carter in the NFC East. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're going to be talking about the wide receivers. Like I mentioned, Travis Hunter, not going to be on this one. A few other names you're probably not going to hear. I'm not going to list them, but if your guy isn't here, let me know. I will talk about one real quick here, Stoner.
Okay.
Come up both times we've done mock drafts on our flagship Wednesday show.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Williams, not on this list. Just to let you know, he's not somebody you're picking early in the draft. Maybe if Washington trades back a couple of times, they can find him in the third, possibly the fourth round. But you're not taking him with the 29th pick.
Right. So I do have a question before we get into these 5 guys, Nathan, because as I talked about, this has perplexed me here for the last week or so, thinking about the wide receivers, because I think we got a situation here, and it's called the Deebo Samuel situation. As we know, you got him for a 5th round pick. He's 29 years old. He's basically playing for his NFL life at this point, for his next big contract, his last big contract, coming off a couple of injury type years. My question is, he's in the last year of his deal. What happens if he has the type of season that you hope that he will have as wide receiver 2? And so let me ask you, Nathan, what does that look like? What does a wide receiver 2 for the Washington Commanders, what do those basic stats look like if he gives you what you hope that he gives you?
Yeah, and so when looking at the offense last year, and we were looking and projecting the wide receiver room, we all thought Terry McLaurin as wide receiver 1 was going to have a 1,400 yard season, 100 plus catches and everything like that. This offense spreads the ball around a little bit more, and so Terry McLaurin didn't get that. So you can't sit there and look at this as being potentially, although Arizona under Cliff Kingsbury did have some good wide receivers out there and a couple good 1,000 years. But I wouldn't say a wide receiver 2 here for Deebo Samuel. I would not expect 1,000 yards.
Okay, that's fair. So what are the yards? Maybe not necessarily expected, but what would be considered a really good year for him for catches, yards, and touchdowns?
60 plus catches. Possibly I'd put him at probably 100 touches.
Okay.
Because he is a bit of a playmaker.
Sure.
Nearing 100 touches, but 60 plus catches, 800 plus yards, and 5 plus touchdowns.
Receiving yards or total yards?
Receiving yards.
Okay. Give me the rushing, because they're going to use him running the ball.
So nearing 100 touches on the year. I would say combined, I would probably put it low balling, probably 1,250.
Right.
Is what you're looking at?
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what was in my head. I was thinking 65 for like 895 yards, and then another 250-ish on the ground, 250 to 300 on the ground, and maybe 8 total touchdowns. That's what you hope. That's what you want. So then my question is, if he has that kind of year, what does that contract look like for him, and what he's going to get being an unrestricted free agent at 29 years old? What is that contract going to look like? And then when you do that, also look at, Terry McLaurin is going to get re-signed at some point before the season starts. And he's going to get $30 million a year.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, he's going to get $30 million a year. What does Deebo Samuel's contract look like coming off a 1,200-yard season with 8 touchdowns and 100 touches? What does that contract look like?
He's going to get $30 million next year.
He's going to get close to $30 million.
Not close. He's going to get $30 million.
And are you going to go into 2026? Are you going to re-sign him for that and go into 2026 with your 2 receivers, both at 30 years old, costing you $60 million a year total? Are you going to do that? You're talking about 30-year-olds now. How many teams do that? I mean, the Bengals do it with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. They're at like 70 million. But number one, McLaurin and Deebo are not Chase and Higgins. And number two, they're both 4 or 5 years older than both of those guys.
Also,
so I don't think
the Bengals might not be the best team to be emulating, despite the fact that they did make it to the Super Bowl a few years ago.
True. I mean, that's fair. That's necessarily hasn't proven that you can pay $70 million to your receivers and still be good. Look, they're still trying to figure out the Trey Hendrickson deal because of that $70 million you gave them. But if he does that, are you willing to pay him $30 million a year? He's making 17.5 this year. I don't think you can, right? So he's gone if he has that kind of year. Conversely, Nathan, if he has the type of year he's had the last couple where he plays 10 games and misses 7 because of injuries and gives you 42 catches for 500 yards and 3 touchdowns and then maybe 150 on the ground and another 2 touchdowns, you want to bring that guy back who plays every other game? So my question, my concern, my Deebo Samuel problem that has been, frying my brain the last week or so is I don't think Deebo Samuel is here after this upcoming season, regardless of what he does. And therefore, that makes this receiver position in this draft when you have right now, you have McLaurin on the last year of his deal, Deebo on the last year of his deal, Noah Brown on the last year of his deal, KJ Osborne on the last year of his deal, and, of course, Michael Gallup on the last year of his deal. Luke McCaffrey has 3 years left, but right now he's wide receiver 5 at this point. You hope he can develop into wide receiver. It turns out they need a receiver for their future. It's not going to solve the receiver position, but it is a definite need for this team for roster management into the future, because you can't go into next year with Terry McLaurin and Luke McCaffrey as being your only 2 guys again. I just don't think Deebo Samuel is a part of this future. Either way, average year, are you going to re-sign a guy who gives you an average year, below average year? And then if he has a great year, he's priced himself right off of your team. That's just the way I kind of look at it.
Might not be the worst, might be, in fact, what Adam Peters is banking on, because then he would get a comp pick back for that large contract that he would send. So you turn a 5th into a stellar wide receiver year, 1-year rental, and then you turn that into a future pick. Would be pretty smart GMing. And that's why he gets paid the big bucks. And that's why he doesn't have a Deebo Samuel problem. He has to just choose one of these wide receivers that we're going to list here. Now, full disclosure, one of these names nearly didn't make the list, and that's partially because of how I rack and stack.
All right.
A lot of people, Stoner included, they'll do the sniff test. They'll go watch some highlights. They'll go read up on players, and they're trying to fit the player to the team. I just look at some very basic things. Now, one of the things I would love to have looked at a little bit more, but not everyone participated in the agility drills. But in a wide receiver, there's nothing more I love than one that can hit those agility drills and a route runner. Those are wide receivers that get success here in the NFL. And with that, let's start off with our first one here. Jayden Higgins at number 5. Size, natural hands. This is a wide receiver out of Iowa State that isn't going to blow you away with speed, but he ran a 4.47.
It's pretty good.
Not terrible, but modest when it comes to it. His big thing is he's a big body guy who can track the ball and, again, nice, soft, natural hands to be able to catch it. What do you think about Jayden Daniels with that 29th pick?
Or Jayden Higgins.
Jayden Higgins, sorry.
if we get Jayden Daniels catching the ball and throwing the ball, I mean, you got yourself quite the player. Wasn't it Tom Brady's wife who told Wes Welker he can't throw and catch the ball? Come on.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you got him at 5. Is he the guy who almost didn't make your list?
No,
Oh,
he's
okay.
one I actually surprisingly like.
Yeah.
Though I do have a slight issue with his separation ability.
Sure. I like me some Jayden Higgins. And while I don't think I like him enough at 29, if they can get him in this with their second round pick, or maybe even if they get him with their first pick that happens to be in the second round, if they trade back, I like Jayden Higgins a lot. Everything that I've seen on him, as you already mentioned, some of his attributes, his size, 6'4", 214. I mean, 4.47 is no slouch of a speed guy. But he spent his first 2 years at Eastern Kentucky, and then came to Iowa State in his junior year at Iowa State, 18.5 yards per catch in his junior year. I mean, that's ridiculous, 18.5 yards. And then his senior year, he had 87 catches for almost 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. I like everything about this kid. I don't know what's not to like about him. You're going to list a few things as well, but man, he's got the body control. He catches anything, got a great catch radius. He knows how to find the spots in the zone. Super smart, can play all the wide receiver positions. I like everything about him. I can't find too much that I don't like, other than maybe for his size, he might not be aggressive enough. He doesn't use his size like he could, but that's something you can certainly teach. So I like him, Nathan. You got him at 5. I think you're crazy.
I do have him at 5. Again, how I rate these guys might be differently than how I necessarily would be taken. I think I would be really happy with him. There are, again, some things that are concerning about him, namely, again, the separation thing. I don't like hearing that a wide receiver in college is just great at contested catches, because that means they didn't get the separation. One of the things reading up on Higgins here was also the fact that he doesn't always use his size to his advantage.
Yeah.
And then also that he was pushing off quite a bit to get the separation needed to catch the ball and just not getting called for it. He might not get that benefit of the doubt in the NFL, but I do really like quite a bit of what he brings, especially the size. Washington lacking that. Now, most fans have told us, our viewers have told us, they want somebody to take the top off. Jayden Higgins is also not the guy to do that, but he is a guy came in at 36 on the big board, and average draft position right now is 38 to 50. So I agree with you, Stoner. Picking him at 29 would be looked at as a reach and not looked favorably back. So you would want to move back in this case to try to see if you could get some value with taking Jayden Higgins. But I liked what I saw. I really did. I was so smooth watching him. And so personally, I wouldn't be upset with him on the team again at 29. Maybe not the best pick, but something to keep an eye on.
Ron Rivera would draft him at 29. Let's put it that way. He would overdraft for a guy like this. And maybe his parents were in the military or something that he would overdraft a guy for. But yeah, this is somebody that would fit well in with this team. But yeah, definitely not at 29. So I get that where you put him at number 5 in terms of the ranking of the 5 guys we've got here. But I would put him in relation to the other 5. He was actually my number 2.
Wow.
That's how much I like him. But
there's a lot to like. There's a lot of fun tape on him. I can see it.
It's funny that we kind of poo-poo on a guy who runs a 4.47 and say, that's just not fast enough. But you're right. We're looking for those speed demons.
Sure. There's a lot of 4.47 guys in the NFL, right?
Yeah,
like they're, so 4.47 is average speed, not top end speed. Moving on here. Here's a guy from Ohio State.
Yeah.
That there's places that even haven't even done a draft write-up of him. They only say he's been an NFL prospect for 3 years. What do you think about Easy E here?
I like me some Emeka Egbuka. I like him a lot. He reminds me a lot, other than the way he catches the ball, he reminds me a lot of another Ohio State receiver who plays for Washington, and that's Terry McLaurin. He's 6'1", 202, runs that same speed as Higgins, about a 4.45, But all he's done since he got at Ohio State is produce, right? So as a freshman, he led the Big Ten in kickoff return average as a freshman. As a junior year, as a sophomore, he caught 74 balls as a sophomore for almost 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. Also had a couple of rushing touchdowns. Now his junior year was down a little bit because he battled an ankle injury, but then he comes back for a senior year last year, 81 catches for 1,000 yards and 10 more touchdowns. Like you said, he just produces. He's an NFL wide receiver. He's been one for a couple of years. And he does remind me a lot of Terry McLaurin in that he's got so much talent around him, even in the receiver position, that he kind of gets overlooked. But this is a guy that will fit right in with an NFL team and will probably start from day one. He's a 3-level guy. He can catch the underneath stuff and turn it into something. He can catch those intermediate routes really well. He runs great routes, and he can get you over the top as well. I love a lot about him. He does definitely get you a lot of yak. He can get you some yards out of the running back position. Not a lot to be disappointed in with him.
No, I mean, he does a lot of the things right. And I really do feel like it might just be the fact that he was a quality wide receiver that produced year in and year out at a big name school. And that big name school produces quite a bit of wide receivers that are just good.
They're just good.
And so maybe his athleticism isn't off the charts.
Right.
Does look to be a little bit average. In fact, didn't, actually do any of the athletics scores that I'm looking at right now. I'm looking and searching on his profile right now, and I can't find him.
Yeah.
He didn't run the 40. He didn't do the cone drills and stuff like that. So what you're basing this off of, and what I'm looking at the big boards, I'm looking at where he's average draft position to kind of rank him here. And a lot of it's just going off the fact that, again, he was the guy at Ohio State and he performed. And so that's what you're hoping you're going to get, not somebody who necessarily has those top end athletic traits that might take that next step as they get into the NFL, but a guy who just, will present and do what's needed of him, much like one Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me so much of Terry McLaurin in that way. And that's why Terry McLaurin fell to the 3rd round, because he didn't blow you away with the stats because he had a lot of dudes around him, and he didn't blow you away with the athletic scores. But then they got him out on the football field in the first day of practice, and they were like,
we made a mistake. Someone made a mistake here. This guy should have been drafted way higher.
Yeah, way higher. So that's what I do like about him. But what is his average draft position in these mocks?
So he actually might not make it to Washington. His average goes from 20 to 25.
Wow. I'm surprised by that.
19 on the big board here. But so he might not be available for Washington. But if he's available at 29, I mean.
Yeah, I would take Higgins over him if both of them were there and I was drafting, but it looks like more people like Egbuka more.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm with you personally. I like Higgins more, but again, I'm just going by. I'm not smarter than these guys.
That's true. I might be a little bit. No. I mean, just not at all. They have so much more understanding, but I might be smarter than Ron Rivera at drafting guys. I will say
that's your second $2 I'm going to make you put into the jar here. Here's another guy that Stoner might be high on. Matthew Golden out of Texas. Versatile, controlled routes. He's number 3 on the list here.
Yeah.
Somebody who, unfortunately, I'm familiar with as a Boomer Sooner. Doesn't have the size.
Right.
He's only 5'11". 4.29 though, 40-yard dash.
That's off the charts.
Pretty fast. Yeah. Pretty fast.
Well, that's the guy you were talking about that most fans want to see if they draft a receiver, is that guy who can take the top off. Now, look, De'Ami Brown could do that, but there's more to it, obviously, that you need to be able to do to be an NFL wide receiver. You can't just be a guy that just goes all the time, unless you're Deshaun Jackson. Maybe there's a couple of guys who can do that, but you need a little bit more than that, but he does bring a lot of that. But 4.29 is something you can't teach, something you can't coach. he can just go and get the ball, but he's got so much speed, and you have to like that about him. Because of his size, he does struggle with blocking. He does struggle with drops. I mean, he had a lot of just egregious drops. And I think that probably frustrates fans more than anything, is when you have a guy that's wide open and he just drops the ball. And so he struggled with that quite a bit, and just being his smaller size. But, man, he can catch he can run the routes. He runs all the routes. He can, because of his speed, he can just break some ankles with those routes because they have to respect his speed so much. So he's a guy that you're probably gonna want to add to your team if you have the chance.
Yeah, he is very exciting. Lots of eye-popping catches. He's got speed for days, and he's got some fancy footwork that can get him open and off the line of scrimmage that you like. The concern or knock on him would be, like you said, the attention to detail type stuff. There were a lot of drops. There were plays that he seemingly took off. And that doesn't get you the commander's tag.
No,
it does not get you the commander's tag. But I mean, if he's involved, if you keep him involved and in the game, he's a threat. Yeah. And this is definitely one I feel like a lot of our viewers will be really happy with because of that top end speed. Don't make him run the entire tree. Just have him run the 9 the entire time. Just keep going and open up things for Deebo and Terry McLaurin underneath, and you were good to go.
Yeah.
At least until
make the safety go with you.
Yeah, make the safety go with you until things get kind of together for you. That'd be his role here. I like him. I like the speed. I like the ability. Like I said, there's some things what might not make sure that he gets that commander's tag. And he also might not be available for Washington. Average draft position right now, 12 to 23.
Wow.
So 22 on the big board. So if he's available at 29, you might want to go ahead and try it.
You might want to. I don't think I would. He's not my favorite in this draft. I'm just not a big fan of the smaller, speedy guys. I mean, look, you can list 100 guys who are small and fast, who were effective and who were game changers, but that's just not my type of player personally. I do like the Deebo Samuels, the bigger, stronger guys, or some of these other guys that we're going to talk about as well. But I wouldn't be mad if Washington ends up drafting him.
I think the size thing is overrated for wide receivers. I think speed, agility, the ability to separate.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're 5'11" or 6'5". If you've got a yard of space, you're catching the ball.
Yeah.
Right. Well, if you got good hands, you'll catch the ball.
Yeah. Right.
So the ability to separate is key, and he has the speed to do it. There's some issues with him in the short game, especially like I said, those drop passes I mean, you look at even I hate to give Eagles praise, but I mean, Devontae Smith as being a smaller guy that can really hurt a defense.
Sure.
So, I mean, I think the size thing is overrated. I would like Washington get size just because they already have a couple short, kings, but I'm also not turning down a guy who's got this level of speed and versatility.
Is he the guy that almost didn't make your list, where we haven't even reached that guy yet?
We haven't reached him yet.
Oh, jeez, man. Well, I know the two that are left, and I think if they had got a chance at either of these two, they should grab it. And you don't even want them on the list. This is crazy.
Yes, but we'll get there when we get there. Luther Burden III is number 2 on the list here. Playmaker, explosive route runner out of Missouri, coming in here at number 3. Now, interesting enough, Stoner, you missed last week's mock drafts that we did. A lot of people off on Luther Burden III.
They're off of him?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, really? So he was available at 29, and the discussion was whether or not you should take him.
That he's overrated was the thing that our viewers said. If you think he's overrated, you got to put something in the comment section for us to read, because we're going to be revisiting this on Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern live. Join the conversation, of course, but let us know what do you think about these wide receivers, especially Burden the third, because like I said, Stoner, a lot of the viewers not really happy with him.
Yeah, I don't know why not. Look, he's got some things that he needs to work on for sure, like all of these guys do. But this guy's 6 feet, 206, runs a 4.41 40, so he's fast. He's a little bit bigger. He's not super big, but he's Terry McLaurin size, essentially. He's explosive. He knows how to separate. He's a good blocker. He can track the deep ball. He gets yards after the catch. He's a punt returner as well. There's not a lot to not like about him. I think he's also one of those guys like Matthew Golden in terms of, I don't know that he's going to be able to earn that Commander's tag because he is a little bit of a diva. There's plenty of times where you watch him and he's just like, if you're not throwing me the ball, I'm not running down the field kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem. And he was really good his first couple of years. And last year he dropped off. Now the entire Missouri offense dropped off quite a bit this past year, but still, I like him. I don't know what's going on with people saying he's overrated. How can you be overrated when you're a wide receiver at Missouri? Like if you said Egbuka for Ohio State's overrated, I could maybe listen to you a little bit. But how can a wide receiver at Missouri be overrated?
I think it's because people just during the draft process, they get high on him. I mentioned Kyle Williams. That's a wide receiver we're not going to talk about today.
Yeah.
And we might take some time to talk about him on Wednesday. But people are just, they get attached to these players and they want those players over these other players. And when they see Burden and see what he's done, they're not that interested in it. It's interesting because one exec likened him actually to Deebo Samuel.
Oof.
So
you'd love to have Deebo Samuel Jr. on your team, especially when you already got senior on your team.
Yeah, it's it'd be hard pressed to really not like Luther Burden, but I mean, like I said, it's one of those things. Not really they're athletic guy, like you said, in the sense that he's an athlete, not necessarily that he's got a lot of the high-end athletics scores, but more so that he has the tool set to be elusive, to work on the yak, the yards after the catch, much like a Deebo Samuel. Character concerns as far as taking plays off. Now, I want to stress that I didn't mean that as a character concerns, as in he's not a good person or a good locker room cancer or anything like that. Just talking about on the field. It can be a concern, right? This is very much a team focused on playing good football and being there for the team. And there's a certain extent that I think Washington, Adam Peters in the front office, would be willing to go and take a guy who might have some of those, hey, I'm going to take this playoff type thing, because maybe they feel like they could change that attitude. There might be some leeway.
Or if you just have the absolute talent, you kind of earn the right that, a lot of fans don't like it or anything, but you do kind of earn the right to be a bit of a diva and take some plays off, because all the other plays you don't take off, you make plays, your home run
talent. And Burden does have some home run ability to him.
Sure.
So that's pretty nice. I am a little down on him.
Yeah.
I'd probably put him at 4 on my list personally, maybe even 5.
Wow.
But
we're really going to have a problem when we get to number 1. We're really going to have a problem here.
Well, the guy who didn't nearly make the list is actually number 1 on this list. This is T. McMillan. Size, agility, and one of the biggest reasons why he's probably, or why I was saying that he wasn't going to make my list, is because his average draft position is 7 to 12. He's not going to be there.
Okay, that's why.
He's not going to be there.
Okay. Oh,
I just don't see a world where McMillan falls to 29.
Correct.
And so when looking at it, I was just like, do I even bother putting this guy on the top 5 list when he might not even, likely, in all likelihood, I would say 3 of the 5 wide receivers we're talking about aren't going to be there.
Yeah.
There's probably a 98% chance McMillan is gone before pick 29, which is why I was like, do I even bother putting him on there? But the other names he gave me, they are so far away from pick 29 that I was like, I can't talk about these guys. Because there's no way that you're picking them.
Yeah, you definitely had me fooled. I thought you weren't going to have him on the list because you didn't think he was worthy of being one of the top.
No, he's good. He's good. He's not my favorite on this list, but he is good.
Yeah, I think there's nothing not to like about this guy. 6'4", 219, and runs a 4.5. A little bit. He's the slowest of the five that we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're 6'4" and 219, it's okay. And still, 4.55 is not like he's crawling along. That's still burning speed. It's just not top of the line. And he's the guy who's been a stud receiver his entire life. He was the number 1 rated wide receiver coming out of high school. Arizona got him their highest recruit they've ever recruited. And he's done nothing but produce. As a freshman, 39 for 702 and 8 touchdowns. As a sophomore, 90 catches for 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. That's insane in college when you're only playing 11, 12, 13 games. And in last year as a junior, another 84 catches for another 1,300 yards. Think about this, Nathan. In 3 years, he caught 213 balls for 3,400 yards, which is a 16.1 yards per catch, and 21 touchdowns. 26 touchdowns, my bad, in 3 years of college. And who was his quarterback? Exactly. No idea who his quarterback was in college, and he put up those kinds of numbers. Yeah. He can do it all. This is a guy that you would move up for if you had the draft capital. I don't think Washington should, but he is definitely a dude, and he's going to make somebody's team very happy.
Yeah, he's smooth. He's got some great football IQ.
Yep.
Good off the ball as far as working off script type stuff. There is just a lot to like. He's not as athletic as you'd potentially want with I would say a top 10 pick. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him taken in the early before even the teens, but early teens at the latest, which is again why I just didn't think that it was worth it to really put him on here.
Yeah.
This out of the wide receivers though, at 29, if he's there, I would definitely at 29, you'd have to really make a strong argument not to take him, because he would be the best player available at 29 in that regard. So maybe you move back with a lot of gusto and get more draft picks and still get a Higgins or something like that. But yeah, there's T-Mac here is a legit wide receiver. Like I said, maybe not as but he's a big dude. Doesn't really have to be athletic. I mean, it's just he are super athletic. He's just going to be able to beat people with that size. But when I was looking at stuff, he didn't have the same concerns as we had seen before with the contested catches, which I love to see, because if he's a big dude that doesn't have that contested catches tag to him, I'm excited, because that means he's a much better route runner and he didn't need to work on those contested catches.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who has to definitely work on maybe some of his explosiveness and his physicality, even though he is a big guy. But that's something that can be taught and can be worked on to get better at. But he is just a natural receiver and has been his entire life. He's basically the number 1 wide receiver coming out of high school, almost the number 1 wide receiver coming out of college, other than Travis Hunter, of course. But yeah, he's a dude. A lot of people haven't really never heard of him other than going into this draft process when you start studying these guys. But he's going to be somebody's number 1 wide receiver for a long time.
And he'd work here with the Commanders, because one of the things you read about him and see is that he's active in run blocking. He might not be the best at it, but he's active. He doesn't shy away from it. He's willing to put his nose in there to at least make it. And that's one of the things that that this staff wants. It's one of the reasons why they don't have a former wide receiver with their first pick here on the roster. So just saying.
6'4", 219, Nathan. That in itself, 6'4", 219. I mean, look, they brought in last year, they brought in was it Martavis Bryant? Was that who they brought in?
Martavius Bryant, yeah.
Yeah, Martavius
Gallup
Bryant
is this year's Bryant, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone has had this love affair with Bryson Tremaine because of his size. I thought he was still on the roster. I believe he's on the Eagles roster now. Bryson Tremaine. He's on somebody else's roster. I know that, but we're obsessed with guys with wide receivers who are big because we just don't see that a lot here in Washington that worked out. Every one of them just didn't seem to work out. 6'4", 219, and has the production to back it up. That would be a great fit here in Washington. Ain't going to happen, though.
The likeness for him, by the way, I know you're going to love this.
Oh.
AJ Green.
Oh, AJ Green. I thought you were going to say DK. But, yeah, AJ Green. That's, heck yeah, man.
Be pretty good.
That's pretty good.
AJ Green, pretty good. Pretty good. All right, that was our top 5. To realign you here, at number 5, we had Jayden Higgins. Number 4, Stoner, you say his name because I'll butcher it.
Emeka Egbuka.
Matthew Golden coming in at number 3 from Texas. It was Luther Burden III at number 2. And T-Mac McMillan, our number 1 wide receiver, we would take at 29. Let us know in the comment section. Did we miss a wide receiver that you would like us to look at? Yes, I know Kyle Williams will be one we discuss on our flagship program. We're live every Wednesday, 7:30 Eastern. Join the conversation. We'll see your comments here and make sure that we talk about them when we are live on Wednesday. I'm Nathan. That's the Stoner here on the Believe Network, part of Ref the District. And until next time,
think about it. We may have a Deebo Samuel problem.
Be a fan.